You've just been handed the crown, absolute power over 8 billion people. You have the authority to fix every flaw, solve every crisis, and mandate perfect harmony. What is your very first move? Most of us immediately imagine writing a list of perfect laws. We assume that if we just ban the right behaviors and mandate the good ones, we can make the world work by sheer force of will. But every new rule you write creates a new burden. You need a system to enforce it, and then you need a second system to watch the enforcers for corruption. You quickly find yourself trapped in a cycle of endless surveillance. It turns out that the most functional societies don't rely on a massive legal code. They depend on people who choose to do the right thing when no one is watching. Every government in history, from tribal systems to modern republics, is essentially an experiment in what humans do with freedom. The ultimate historical test of this was the story of Noah. It wasn't just a change in government, it was a total societal reboot. The world was wiped clean, starting over with only the most righteous family available. But within a few generations, the new society fractured. People began struggling with the same pride, greed, and fear that destroyed the old world. The flaw wasn't in the external system, it was in the people. Every governance structure is ultimately downstream from the humans operating within it. If rewriting rules fails, leaders use remaining tools, starting with force. Force controls behavior only while you're watching. When threats vanish, behavior stops. Next, incentives. Rewarding or taxing improves data, but doesn't change values. This leads to the final layer, education and example. This was the model of figures like Jesus, who built no armies and forced no compliance. He focused entirely on modeling principles and inviting people to follow them voluntarily. But even this approach relies on a massive assumption. It assumes the people you are leading actually care enough to participate. This reveals the absolute hardest challenge in leadership. It isn't stopping a rebellion or catching a criminal. It's overcoming apathy. When a person loses hope, they become immune to your laws, your punishments, and your rewards. If they don't believe their future can be better, they have no reason to change. Governance completely breaks down here. Whether it's an employee who has checked out or a citizen filled with self-loathing, traditional levers of power simply have nothing to grab onto. You can mandate behavior, but you cannot mandate the desire to improve or force someone to reach for a better life if they feel worthless. This is where we see the mechanics of human behavior more clearly. Wickedness and righteousness both require a person to be active. They both require a belief that their actions will yield a result. Despair is the state where that engine stalls out entirely. A person who has given up is harder to lead than a person who is doing wrong. At least the wrongdoer still believes their choices matter. This dictates the structure of every successful institution. In business, we call this alignment, building a sequence from mission and vision down to values and strategy. Corporations don't rely solely on rulebooks. They describe a vision of a future people actually want to build. Historically, religious frameworks have functioned the same way. They use the concept of good news to convince individuals that their current broken reality isn't the end of the story, and that a better future is actually achievable. A person only begins to change their behavior when they are convinced that a better reality exists and that they have the ability to help create it. If you were king of the world, you would eventually realize that your power to write laws is your least effective tool. You can provide the opportunity and the accountability, but you cannot force the internal decision to grow. That choice has to be made by the individual, from the inside out. Whether leading a nation, a company, or a family, your primary task is managing the environment while giving people a reason to hope.